What's up, survivors? Today we're talking about something that could literally save your life in a pinch. Building a resistant, rust-proof shelter using nothing but scrap materials you can find lying around. No fancy tools, no hardware store runs, just you, some metal scraps, and the determination to not get rained on like a sad wet noodle. Before we get started, check out the link in the description to download our ebook. Check out our merch, brand new Christmas stock. Use the discount code YouTube. Link in the description. Now let's get back to the video. Now, before we dive in, quick safety disclaimer. We're working with scrap metal here, which means sharp edges, rusty corners, and tetanus just waiting to ruin your day. Wear gloves if you have them, watch your hands, and please, for the love of everything good, make sure your tetanus shot is up to date. All right, let's build something that'll make Mother Nature respect you. First things first, not all scrap is created equal. You're going to want to scavenge materials that actually serve a purpose. Think corrugated metal sheets, old car panels, tin cans, drums, basically anything that can block wind and rain without falling apart the second you look at it funny. Here's what you're hunting for. Larger metal sheets for your walls and roof. These are your MVPs, flat, sturdy, and they actually keep the weather out. Bonus points if you find corrugated metal because those ridges add structural integrity. It's like the material is doing half the work for you. Next up, smaller pieces like tin cans, bottle caps, or thin metal strips. Don't ignore these. They're perfect for patching gaps, reinforcing weak spots, or creating makeshift hinges. One person's trash is literally your weatherproof palace. And don't sleep on non-metal materials. Old tarps, canvas, even sturdy plastic sheeting, cloth scraps, burlap bags, anything fabric-based. These are going to be critical for sealing gaps and adding extra waterproofing layers. Think of them as the duct tape of the scavenging world. Pro tip, avoid metal that's so rusted it crumbles when you touch it. I know we're calling this rust-proof, but we're not miracle workers. If it flakes apart in your hand, leave it. You want metal that's weathered, but still solid. All right, you've got your materials. Now let's talk location and foundation. Find relatively flat ground, away from low-lying areas where water pools. You do not want to wake up in a surprise indoor swimming pool. Trust me on this, your frame is going to be dead simple. Find or create 4-corner supports. These could be sturdy branches, metal pipes, even stacked cinder blocks if you're lucky enough to find them. The goal is to create anchor points for your walls. Now here's where it gets interesting. You're going to lean your larger metal sheets against these supports, creating a triangular or lean-to structure. Why? Because angled walls shed water and wind way better than flat walls. Physics is your friend here. If you've got enough material, a simple A-frame design is your best bet. 2 large sheets meeting at the top, creating a peaked roof. This is shelter architecture 101, and it works because gravity does all the heavy lifting. Rain hits the roof, slides right off. Secure everything by overlapping edges and using rocks, logs, or other heavy materials to weigh down the bottom edges. No nails, no problem. Weight and friction are underrated heroes in the construction world. Now let's talk about keeping your metal from turning into an orange, flaky mess. Rust is the silent killer of scrap metal shelters, and it happens when iron meets oxygen and moisture. So basically, it's happening all the time. Great first defense, create a moisture barrier. If you've got any kind of grease, oil, or even animal fat, thin layer on your metal surfaces. Yeah, it sounds gross, but it works. The oil prevents water from making direct contact with the metal. Science. Second option, if you've found any old paint, even the crusty, dried-up kind, try to scrape some off and mix it with a tiny bit of water to create a paste. Apply this to rust-prone areas. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Here's a hack nobody talks about. Charcoal and ash from your fire. Mix it with a bit of fat or oil to create a primitive protective coating. It looks terrible, but it genuinely helps slow down oxidation. Plus, you'll look like you mean business. If you've got cloth or plastic sheeting, use it to create a double wall system. Metal on the outside, fabric layer on the inside, with an air gap between them. This gap keeps moisture from condensing directly on the metal. Condensation is rust's best friend, so we're breaking up that friendship immediately. And here's the golden rule. Keep your shelter ventilated. I know it seems counterintuitive, but trapped moisture inside your shelter will rust your metal faster than leaving it outside in the rain. Leave small gaps near the top for airflow. Your lungs and your metal will thank you. You've got your structure up. It's not rusting into oblivion. But now you're looking at all these gaps where wind and rain are just partying their way inside. Time to seal this thing up. Cloth strips are your secret weapon here. Take any fabric you found and stuff it into gaps between metal sheets. Pack it tight. Once it gets wet, it'll actually expand slightly and create an even better seal. It's like nature's caulking, except it smells worse. If you've got tin cans, flatten them out. Seriously, stomp on them, bang them with a rock, get them as flat as possible. Then use these as shingles or patches over gaps. Overlap them like fish scales, starting from the bottom and working your way up. Water flows down, so your overlaps should face down too. Here's a dramatic moment for you. Picture yourself inside your shelter during the first real rainstorm. Rain is hammering down, wind is howling, and you're sitting there, completely dry, eating your canned beans like the survivor champion you are. That's the goal. That's what we're building toward. For larger gaps, create a paste using mud, clay, or even ash mixed with water and small bits of fiber, like grass or cloth scraps. Smear this into cracks. When it dries, it hardens into a surprisingly effective sealant. Ancient humans used this technique for thousands of years, and they didn't have YouTube tutorials, so we've got this. Tarps or plastic sheeting should be your roof's best friend. Layer them over your metal roof and secure the edges with rocks, or by tying them to your frame with cordage. Even if your metal roof has gaps, that tarp layer is your insurance policy. A shelter that blows away in the first strong wind is just expensive confetti. Let's make sure yours stays put. The key to wind resistance is weight and low profile. The flatter and heavier your shelter, the harder it is for wind to get under it and play frisbee with your walls. So keep that A-frame design low and stake everything down with the heaviest rocks you can reasonably move. Create a wind wall on your shelter's prevailing wind side. This is basically a second outer wall made from whatever extra material you have. It doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to take the brunt of the wind so your actual shelter doesn't have to. If you've got rope, cordage, or even strips of cloth tied together, use them to guy out your structure. Tie lines from your roof peak to stakes or heavy rocks on the ground. Think of it like a tent. Those lines distribute wind force and keep everything stable. For extra reinforcement, layer your walls. Metal sheet on the outside, air gap, then another layer of metal, fabric, or even cardboard if you've got it. Multiple layers mean redundancy, and redundancy means you're still dry when one layer fails. And here's a survival pro tip. Face your shelters opening away from the prevailing wind direction. You want wind hitting your solid back wall, not blowing straight through your door like it owns the place. All right, your shelter is weatherproof and rust resistant. But let's talk about making it actually livable, because survival should have at least a tiny bit of comfort involved. Use flattened cardboard or layers of cloth on the ground as insulation. Cold ground will suck the heat right out of your body. And nobody wants to survive a storm just to get hypothermia from the floor. Layer up. Create a simple door using a flexible piece of material like canvas or a tarp. Attach it at the top and let it hang down. You can tie it open during the day and close it at night or during storms. Boom, instant door. If you've got extra metal cans, turn them into storage containers, water collectors, or even simple cups. Cut carefully to avoid sharp edges, or better yet, fold the sharp edges over on themselves using a rock. Now you've got a functional camp kitchen. Here's a hack for staying organized. Punch small holes in cans and hang them from your shelter's frame using wire or cordage. Instant storage hooks for tools, wet clothes, or food you want to keep off the ground. And if you're feeling fancy, create a small covered area outside your shelter entrance for activities you don't want to do inside. This could be as simple as extending your roof with an extra tarp. Now you've got a porch. You're basically a homeowner at this point. Let's get real for a second. Scrap metal is dangerous. Those edges are sharp, rust can cause infections, and metal expands and contracts with temperature changes, which can create new sharp edges or cause your structure to shift. Always smooth or fold over sharp edges. Use a rock to carefully bend the edge back on itself, or wrap sharp corners with cloth or tape if you have it. Your future self, who's not bleeding from a random cut, will appreciate it. Check your shelter regularly. Metal fatigue is real, and what was solid yesterday might have a crack today, especially after storms or high winds. Walk around your shelter every few days and look for weak points, new rust spots, or areas where water is pooling. Keep a mental map of where the sharp edges are, especially at night. The last thing you need is to stumble in the dark and slice your hand open on a piece of metal you forgot about. Mark dangerous spots with cloth strips or reflective material if you have it. If you're in a survival situation long-term, prioritize wound care. A small cut from rusty metal can become a major infection if not treated properly. Clean any cuts immediately, keep them covered, and watch for signs of infection like redness, swelling, or pus. And remember, your shelter is a tool, not a permanent home. If you have the opportunity to move to better accommodations or signal for rescue, take it. Don't get so attached to your metal palace that you missed your chance to get back to civilization. All right, survivors, let's recap. You've learned how to select the right scrap materials, build a weather-resistant frame, prevent rust from destroying your hard work, seal gaps like a pro, reinforce against wind, and add those creative touches that make survival a little less miserable. The key takeaways: overlap your materials, weight everything down, create multiple layers for redundancy, and never underestimate the power of mud and cloth for sealing gaps. And for the love of everything holy, watch those sharp edges. Now here's your homework. Get out there and practice these techniques before you need them in an actual emergency. Build a test shelter in your backyard, take it apart, build it again. Experiment with different materials and designs. See what works in your environment, test your shelter in real weather. Wait for a rainy day and see if water gets in. Check for drafts, make improvements. The best time to learn your shelter leaks is not during an actual survival situation when hypothermia is on the line. And remember, survival isn't about building the perfect shelter on your first try. It's about adapting, problem-solving, and making the best of whatever materials you have available. You've got this. If you found this video helpful, smash that like button. Subscribe for more survival content and drop a comment telling me what kind of shelter hack you want to see next. Are you Team A-Frame or Team Leontu? Let me know. Stay safe out there, stay dry, and remember, Mother Nature is tough, but you're tougher. Now get out there and build something that'll make the weather think twice about messing with you. This has been Simple Shelter Hacks for rust and weather protection. Until next time, survivors, keep your metal rust-free and your spirits high. Peace.